Hello and welcome. I'm Jarvis. In this lesson, we're diving deeper into stored procedures to explore two powerful mechanisms for communicating information back to the calling application: output parameters and return codes. By the end of this 20-minute session, you'll be able to confidently define and use output parameters, leverage return codes for status checks, capture these values in your calling script, and clearly distinguish between them. So far, we've used stored procedures that accept input parameters and return data as a result set, a standard grid of rows and columns. This is perfect for queries, but what if we need to return something else, like a single value or a status message, without a full result set? This is where output parameters come in. Think of them as a two-way street. You declare a variable in your calling script, pass it to the procedure modifies its value, and that new value is available back in your script after the procedure finishes. They are ideal for returning single data values. The return statement, on the other hand, is much simpler. Its sole purpose is to stop the procedure's execution immediately and send back a single integer value. By convention, a return value of 0 indicates success, while any non-zero value signifies a warning or failure. It's for status, not data. This is the most critical concept to grasp. Use output parameters when you need to return data, like a string, a date, or a decimal. Use the return statement when you only need to communicate the status of the operation. Did it succeed or did it fail? Mixing these up is a common pitfall we'll discuss later. All right, let's move to Management Studio. We'll use a simple books table with book ID, title, and author. Our goal is to create a procedure that finds books by a specific author. Initially, it will just return a result set, and then we'll enhance it. First, we'll alter our procedure. We add a new parameter, let's call it @bookCount, define it as an integer, and most importantly, add the output keyword. Inside the procedure, after our select statement, we'll set the value of this parameter using the @rowCount function, which gives us the number of rows affected by the last statement. Now, to call this modified procedure, we first declare a local variable, @theCount, to receive the value. When we execute the procedure, we pass this variable followed by the output keyword. After the execute statement runs, our @theCount variable will hold the value that was set inside the procedure. Next, let's add the status logic. We want to check if the author even exists in our table. We'll add a simple if not exists block at the top. If the author is not found, we'll print a message and, crucially, use return 1 to stop execution and signal a failure. If the author is found, the procedure continues and we'll add a return 0 at the very end for success. Capturing the return code is similar to the output parameter. We declare an integer variable, let's say @returnStatus. Then, in our execute statement, we assign the procedure call to this variable. SQL Server automatically captures the value from the return statement into @returnStatus, which we can then check to determine if the procedure succeeded. Now let's see the complete calling script. We declare variables for both the return status and the output parameter. We then execute the procedure, capturing both values in one statement. Finally, we can use a simple if-else block to check the @returnStatus and decide whether to show the success message with the book count or an error message. Now it's your turn to practice. Take the procedure we've just built, USP Get Books by Author. Your task is to modify it exactly as we did in the demo. Add an output parameter to return the total count of books found, and use a return code to indicate if the author exists, 0 for success and 1 if the author is not found. Test it with both an existing and a non-existing author. A classic real-world use case for this is when you insert a new record into a table with an identity column, like a new customer. The application needs to know the ID of the record it just created. An output parameter is the perfect, most efficient way to pass that new customer ID back to the caller. Here's what that procedure might look like. It takes the customer's name as input and has an @newCustomerID output parameter. It performs the insert and then immediately uses scope identity to get the ID that was just generated in the current scope, assigning it to the output parameter before successfully returning. Let's reinforce the most common point of confusion, trying to use return to send back data. Remember, return is for status only, an integer signaling success or failure. If you need to send back any other piece of data, whether it's a number, text, or date, you must use an output parameter. Keep them separate in your mind, status versus data. So, to summarize, we've learned how to use output parameters to pass single data values back from a procedure. We've seen how the return statement is used to signal the execution status, and most importantly, we now understand the clear distinction between the two, which is crucial for writing robust, predictable, and clean T-SQL code. Thank you for joining me for this lesson. Mastering output parameters and return codes is a significant step in becoming a more effective SQL Server developer. I'm Jarvis, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Keep practicing.